as an artist, fear is the enemy. And that's going to be your biggest enemy as an artist, because I like to give it this persona, and you think of this guy whispering in your ear, and he's like, you can't do that. You can't conquer that. You can't go on stage. Everybody's going to hate you. You know what I mean? And so, you're going to deal with fear, but the thing is figuring out ways to cope with it and realizing and acknowledging that it's the enemy. It wasn't until I joined Courier that things actually started looking like, holy crap, like I might be able to do this for my life.
And my dad, who actually teaches at art schools, really encouraged me to go to art school.
I took a filmmaking class when I was a sophomore or junior at Rice, just as an easy A.
He was right. As soon as I got there, I kind of fell in love with making things. And then one thing kind of led to another.
And I was like, wow, like I'm 20 and I could potentially be, making a full-time living off of this band.
And we just fell in love with it.
How do you define art? It's the expression of...
It's kind of a weird abstract thing though, because, in one sense, like you can't really call yourself an artist, and like it sounds kind of weird and pretentious, so I don't really want to call myself an artist. But I do make my living creating things, so I would say that I guess maybe I'm an artist. I like to create things.
I try to express myself in a way that will make other people reflect on their lives and question their place in the world.
I consider myself a production designer and costume designer, but the word artist always makes me uncomfortable. I'm afraid it's alienating to people, that they will just assume that I'm making things purely for myself or for some kind of artistic pursuit.
Because I get to contribute to something that makes people happy, maybe sometimes makes them sad, helps them gain perspective, and that's what art does. It takes your view of the world and then puts it out there for other people to see and hopefully relate to. So therefore, I'm consider myself an artist.
The encouragement's easy. It's the making connections have an impact on a stranger's life through your art, on the rare times that actually occurs. And that's pretty self-explanatory as to why that would be inspiring and encouraging. As far as things that are discouraging, I would say pretty much everything else.
So you get like a lot of folks that really think that what you're doing is great. But the reality is that, whether or not it's great, that has nothing to do with it. You do get like an outsized ego stroke that isn't really realistic, like when it's balanced against what you've actually done or actually accomplished.
Sometimes we need to be discouraged, myself included. You have to know your limits, first of all. I'm guilty of not always knowing my limits and trying to be overly ambitious.
The negative aspect of things is that it's hard to, to be successful at anything, like whether it's art of any type, music, or anything, or any venture in life, or anything that you're trying to pull off, involves an extraordinary amount of work, and really, frankly, like you have to work. To the difference between being moderately successful and actually like achieving what you set out to do is enormously based on like the amount that you put into it.
I would say that creativity is only about a third of my job.
Probably 70% talent and 30% hard work.
10% talent, 90% hard work.
I've started to think it's something a little more approaching 50-50.
I'm going to say about half and half. I think you have to have talent, but you definitely have to have hard work to develop the talent.
70-30 talent to hard work, just because, and that's why I play rock and roll, because I don't want to work that hard.
When you're a kid, or even kids like as in high school or teenager, and younger, in early 20s even, you often have these like visions and this like delusions of grandeur that, if you just put it out there, it's like if you build it, they will come. sort of this mentality about it's an art, and so you shouldn't have to cater to the man or do this or that or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, you know, if you're trying to make it more than a hobby, then it's a business at that point.
You need, one, not to wait around and get somebody's permission to make a film, mostly in terms of finances or in terms of, you know, creative control. Never wait around for that, because 99 out of a million, you know, 99 out of 100 times it's never going to happen.
But you know, people when they're starting out, you know, just deal with lots of anxiety on how it's like, okay, am I good enough? Can I do this professionally? Like, it's just such it's a really scary thing, I admit, and you should be scared.
I would also say don't be afraid to try things. I feel like a lot of the success I've had has been because I've been willing to fail.
You can't just constantly let that be a burden on you. It's just it'll become this weight on your shoulders, and you'll snowball down this massive hill of, you know, anxiety, and you can't let yourself do that. You got to just be like, okay, like there are going to be people that are going to be better than me. I'm going to feel insecure, but the thing is I have to realize that like I'm going to grow, and even though like I'm not at my full potential now, like I won't get frustrated. I'll just keep working and grow and grow and grow as an artist. And I think that's most important. You should set aside fear and have your eyes on growth.
So it's really a balance, and it's a balance that sort of equals out to dedication. And that's ultimately the factor that gets you to where you want to be.
If I had to sum it up in one word, I'd probably say hubris. and what I mean by that is that you need to have enough of it to actually think that your idea is good enough to get out there.
If you really think you can put in the work and the time to do it, then you can be good enough to do it, as long as you have the drive and just the endurance to last.
But it's almost a moot point, because I don't think that, you know, very few people ever even put enough into anything to discover where their limitations are or not. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's perseverance. Being willing to kind of get up off the ground over and over again and keep trying, and just to, you know, not be afraid. Not be afraid of the hard work and the failure and the disappointment, because it is hard, but it's also worth it.